Deep in the shadow of the Smoky Mountains, the forests hold more than just wildlife and winding trails. In an esteemed restaurant tucked into the woods outside Gatlinburg, staff say they aren't alone after closing time. Glasses move on their own, doors open in empty rooms, and sometimes a woman in old-fashioned clothing appears near the bar. Some believe she died here long ago, and some say she never left. Tonight on Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters, the ghost who never left the Greenbrier. Welcome to Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters, where we explore the strangest legends, ghost stories, and unexplained encounters from the Smoky Mountains and beyond. I'm your host, Stormy Skies, and tonight we're starting in Gatlinburg with a ghost story that restaurant staff say is very real. The Appalachian Mountains are among some of the oldest mountain ranges in the United States and the world, having formed approximately 480 million years ago, extending roughly 2,000 miles along eastern North America and starting in the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador and ending in central Alabama of the United States. These hills hold eons of history and tales. Our story today centers in the town of Gatlinburg, a city nestled in the Great Smoky Mountains of Tennessee. For centuries, people have flocked to these mountains to breathe the fresh air, take in the scenic flora, and escape the worries of city life. It's here that the Greenbrier Lodge was built in 1939 to house wealthy hunters, outdoor enthusiasts, and loggers who frequented the area, and has served as a bed and breakfast for over 40 years. Around 1980, the Haddon family purchased the lodge and converted it into the Greenbrier Restaurant that it is known as today. Staff working at the Greenbrier report glasses sliding across the bar top, doors opening in empty rooms, a disembodied patron sitting at his favorite table, and the pitter-patter of a boy playing under the stairs in bar area. The most famous ghost, a guest named Lydia, came to the Greenbrier Lodge in the 1930s or 40s for her upcoming nuptials. However, she would never become a bride. Instead, she was stood up at the altar. Lydia was humiliated and distraught that her beloved never showed, and unfortunately returned to the lodge to take her own life. She was said to have used a rope to hang herself from a beam on the second floor. That beam is now displayed over the restaurant's bar, rope burns and all. Present-day customers and staff have reported hearing Lydia's screams, while some have also reported seeing her apparition from the corner of their eye. If only she had known that she wasn't abandoned at the altar by choice. Her betrothed was reportedly found days later, having been mauled to death by what appears to have been a mountain lion while out on a bachelor trip hunt. She is sometimes seen wandering mournfully in the neighboring White Oak Flat Cemetery where her fiancé is presumed to be buried. Lydia was not so fortunate as to be buried in a cemetery and is said to have been buried in an unmarked grave due to the nature of her death. This seems to be where the haunting began. As the story goes, a few days after her passing, a caretaker of the lodge was awakened by a whisper, "Mark my grave." After several nightly visits, he did as she requested, but this didn't put her spirit to rest for long. She is said to not be a fan of the beam bearing the marks of her tragic end being on display in the restaurant, and has been known to throw food and glasses from shelves. The Greenbrier is said to also house the spirit of a surly old man who haunts one particular table at the back of the restaurant. He is said to express his displeasure of unruly or boisterous patrons by complaining about the noise. Another specter of a little boy who supposedly drowned in a pool near the restaurant is seen on the grounds. The staff say he favors playing under the stairs or messing with patrons' feet under the bar. Toys like jacks are sometimes left for him to keep his impish spirit pacified. In Appalachian culture, the supernatural is deeply intertwined with the landscape and history of the region. Native Americans and Celtic immigrants alike shared in the belief of otherworldly entities. These mountains are considered to be spiritually active. Beings are often thought to linger at the site of tragic, violent, or unsettled events. So, is it possible that some stories in Appalachia never really end? Have you experienced something strange in the mountains? Strange lights in the woods? Phantom footsteps on an otherwise abandoned trail? Or something watching you from the tree line? Give me a holler Send your story to MyHollerStory@gmail.com, and your encounter might be featured on a future episode. The mountains of Appalachia have always been a place of mystery. Long before the roads and towns, these ridges held stories of strange creatures, wandering spirits, and encounters no one could explain. And even today, deep within the forests of the Great Smoky Mountains, people still report seeing things they can't quite understand. This has been Haunted Hollers and Eerie Encounters with Stormy Skies. Thank you for listening, and for stepping with me into the shadows of Appalachia. Until next time, stay out of the hollers after dark.